video. Last time we left off with Jacksonian democracy, and I have gotten a new phone as well. It looks a little bit more crisp on the video here. Hopefully it will be. But talking about Jackson's time and a little bit after him as well. We're now on to the road to Oregon. In 1844, the Democrats returned to their accustomed glory and elected James Polk of Tennessee as an advocate of expansion. Almost any people but the restless Americans would long have been content with the Louisiana Purchase from France in 1803, and the purchase of Florida from Spain in 1819. But pioneers were already dreaming of the warm, wet Pacific coast, the Oregon Territory belonging to British America, and California and the Southwest controlled by Mexico. The region between Mexican California and Russian Alaska had not been precisely divided. Both British and Americans had explored the area, traded with the Indian tribes, and made some settlements such as the missionary station of Marcus Whitman. The British were represented chiefly by the Hudson Bays Company, trading for furs. American claims extended over the whole Oregon Territory, and a popular expansionist slogan was 5440 or fight. 5440 or fight. This being the southern limit of Russian Alaska. But Polk and his government had no serious intentions of entering into a doubtful war with so powerful a nation as Britain. A common sense compromise was effected, extending the northern frontier of the United States along the 49th parallel of latitude clear to the Pacific coast, leaving Vancouver Island to the British. Settlement followed rapidly. The emigrants had no intention of stopping on the treeless Great Plains, still less so in the forboding Rockies. They wanted good land to plow, mild weather, and abundant woodlands, so they undertook a long trek, starting at some such point as Omaha on the Missouri, with the earliest grass of spring. They went in canvas-covered wagons, carrying household goods, flour, and seed for the first planting. Their wagons were usually drawn by oxen, slow beasts, but tough and strong. Whole companies often traveled together for protection from the Indians. They expected to reach Independence Rock in Wyoming by the 4th of July, so that they would have a good prospect of establishing their new homes by winter. Their greatest peril was for fording the swift and treacherous Snake River, a branch of the Oregon or Columbia, where men were often drowned. The American portion of the Northwest was divided into territories, later the states of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. The British portion formed the present Canadian province of British Columbia. Because of their northerly location, these territories were closed to slavery. Not so the lands acquired from Mexico, but before taking up the annexation of Texas and the subsequent Mexican War, let us look at the type of politics and society which was developing in the South. That'll be tomorrow's video, because as you see, it's a whole new thing. But yeah, the Oregon Trail, obviously, there's a game about it, the Oregon Trail, very famous game. But it's a very long trek. Could take quite a few months, or quite a few weeks, depending on how fast you were, really. But you're going from a lot of different areas. If you're going from the straight east, so like, the most easterly states, you would stop at Ohio. A lot of times, that's why Ohio's population grew, because it was like, oh, it's like the first stop on the Oregon Trail. A lot of times, it's stop in Ohio. A lot of people would be like, that was far enough. I'm just gonna stop in Ohio. But then they would continue to go on, like they said. Um, Oregon Trail could be really dangerous at times, could be really mild at times, really dependent on your luck, really. Uh, the Great Plains are pretty boring. Obviously, the native attacks, different animals, things like that. Not so much to forage. Obviously, there's a lot of animals you could hunt, but in terms of like plants, depends here or there. But still a very important point to annexing that whole Northwest Territory. There was a potential for a war with Britain, and it came kind of close, um, but it didn't end up happening. Um, and really, the Northwest Territory wouldn't be fully figured out till even after the Civil War. So it'll be a little bit there. Um, but it's funny to think, you know, we won it all the way to the southern part of Russian Alaska, and then we would get Alaska. So it's a little funny, a little funny part there. But now let's get on to the pictures. Let's see first. Here we go, right here. So to the left here is, by the 1830s, the Oregon Trail was in heavy use. A view of a wagon train at the Devil's Gate landmark by the Sweetwater River, a few miles west of Independence Rock in central Wyoming. Yeah, this is a very famous structure in the rock. Just one of those really rare instances of geological happenings. But yeah, they call it Devil's Rock. Really interesting if you can ever visit it. It's still the other day, of course, but very interesting. And yeah, the Oregon Trail, you can see these wagon trains. Yeah, sometimes there would be tons and tons of people. There are sometimes smaller groups, but a lot of times there would be bigger groups, just because it make things a lot easier. Of course, you could make whole communities with this amount of people. Obviously, there wouldn't be probably this many. Not to say it couldn't happen, but maybe not. But if it was, I mean, you could start a whole town with that amount of people, you know. So it makes things really easy. At the bottom here is a cartoon ultimatum on the Oregon question, printed in 1846. So you can see here are the Brits, and here are the Americans. Like, oh yeah, you know, we don't really want it. I could probably look in. Obviously, the lettering is a little tiny, but yeah, them talking across the pond, neutral ground, very interesting. It's always fun to see those older political cartoons from back in the day. The bottom here, fresh meat seemed to be abundant on the Oregon Trail, as this drawing of buffalo hunters testifies. Yeah, buffalo were all over the Great Plains, the American buffalo. Sadly, and this is very sad, you could probably find pictures of it. No, you could. There would be a big surge in buffalo hide. People really wanted buffalo hide, a big want for it. So these buffalo would be hunted basically to extinction almost. Um, there's still some, but it's they're a very endangered species. Their numbers have been improving slowly, but yeah, they're basically more or less wiped out. And you can find pictures of guys standing on these piles of bison skulls, and they just stack up super high. It's crazy the amount of buffalo that were in the Great Plains and that were just wiped out. Very sad, very sad. So if you can, try to help make sure that we can preserve these mighty beasts. They are um, definitely a American animal. They almost should have made it like what they did with the bald eagle. They should have thought of the American, so the American mammal, or the like, you know how we have so the American bird is, or not bird, but the American animal is the bald eagle. They could have done something similar where it's like, oh, the American bird, the American megafauna, and you know they do stuff like that, but that stuff just doesn't stick as well as like the main animal, the bald eagle. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys like the video, leave a like. If anyone would like to improve these videos, leave a comment down below. I always appreciate your feedback, and as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.